Hi guys, thanks for stopping by my channel today. Now in this video, I'm going to take a shirt that I bought at Walmart and I'm going to add 3 colors of iron-on vinyl. I'm going to use this beautiful Caesar glitter HTV, some black Caesar Easy Weed Stretch HTV, and then some white HTV that I got off of Amazon. Once I use an HTV or an iron-on, I like to put a label on it so I know what temperature to use, how long to press it, things like that. So that's just one tip if you're starting out. Now for my design, I'm going to make it in Cricut Design Space as well as Inkscape. Inkscape's a free design software. There are so many things that you can do in Inkscape that you really can't do in Cricut Design Space. So I just encourage you to keep an open mind and consider using it. So we're just going to jump on in. We'll move over to the computer and we'll make our design. Now first, I'm going to make my shirt design in Cricut Design Space. And the first thing I'll do is I'll just get a rectangle that mimics my shirt. Now I'm going to unlock the proportions. Then I'm going to make my rectangle 9 inches wide by 8 inches tall. Then my shirt is a really dark gray, so I'll just make that a little bit darker. Then for the text, I'll click right here on text, and I'm going to type the words Real Women, but I don't want this Cricut Sans font. What I'm looking for is this Gabriella. Then I also want my font to be white. Now notice I can't click up here. You have to click out of your words, then right back on them. So I'll change that to white. Okay, so the size of that is too small. With the proportions locked, first thing I'm going to do is just drag it. Now I want my design to be about 7.5 inches wide. Then I need to weld the letters together. Otherwise, it's going to cut between each letter. Before I do that though, let me ungroup them so I can move some of them around. I want my R to be touching my E, and actually I want my R a little bit larger. Seems like it needs to be a little bit bigger so that it's kind of to the same scale as a W. I might have made that a little bit too big. Now that it's overlapping with the E, when I weld those together, they'll be attached. The other thing that I see that I'd like to change is I want to move this W closer to the rest of the word. So I'm going to click on it, and then on my keyboard, I'm going to hit the right arrow, and that'll move it a little bit. Now that might be a little bit too far. Let's look. Oh, it's not bad, but I'm going to move it back just a tiny bit. Okay, so I'm ready to weld all those letters together. The easiest way for me is to just hide this rectangle, select all my letters, and click weld. So at the bottom of the shirt, I want the words Other Women. So again, I'll click on text, type Other Women. It's still on Gabriella, so I'm good there. We'll drag it so that it's also about 7.5 inches wide. Now notice again, I can't change the font color until I click out of it and right back on it. So I'll change that to white as well. Then before I weld it, I'm going to move this W. So I'll ungroup those letters, click on the W, move it over. Once again, it's a little too close, so I'll move it back over. Okay, I had that wobbling up and down. Let me just select all the letters, and I'll go to Align, and I'll align the bottom. Okay, so again, I'm going to hide this rectangle, select all the letters, and click Weld. Now I'll bring this back. Now I want this to be centered under the words Real Women. So I'm going to hold the Command button down and add Real Women. Then I'll go up to Align and Center Horizontally. Okay, I would go ahead and group them, but I'm not sure about the size of in here yet. I need to put a word in there. Now when you see this, I am in no way bashing men. I love men. I support men. But what I have found in my own life is that if I surround myself with positive and supportive women, then when times get tough, life is easier. And then with my job, I'm a high school counselor. I really want to model to young women to support other women. Don't try to break them down, try to support them. So for in the middle, I'm going to click on text, and then you can change the font later or you can change it now. For this word, I'm going to use the font Impact. So I'll search for that and select it. Then with all caps, I'm going to type the word Empower. Okay, well that's way too big. So I'll drag it smaller. And then since I'm using the greenish blue glitter vinyl, I'll click off of it, back on it, and I'll change it to a color that's similar. Let's click on Advanced. And right there looks good enough. Okay, there's something about right here I don't like. This huge gap, for some reason that bothers me. So I'm going to try to hug those two letters together just a little bit. Maybe this one and the W as well. So I'll hit Ungroup, click on the O, hit the right arrow key, and that's too far. So I'm going to move it back over just a little bit. Now with the W selected, I'll hit that right arrow, too far again, so I'll move that back. Let's move the M over and the E over. And then you can see they're all wonky here. So again, I'm going to hide my rectangle, select all the letters, then I'll say Align, and I can either say Align at the bottom or center vertically. Since all these letters are the same height, any of these options would work. Okay, I don't like this quite as much as I'd hoped I would, so I'm going to click on the E, move it over. Do you ever do this? You do your work and then you redo your work. All right, let's select all those again. And then go ahead and realign those. Oh, look, this O is a little taller, so I do think it's good to align on the bottom. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and weld those together. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and select everything and go back to Align and center horizontally. Then let's go ahead and bring my rectangle back. Now the last thing that I want to do is put a black rectangle behind the word Empower. My shirt is dark gray. I think a black on black or black on dark gray would be really nice, but it would also help set this off. So let's go to Shapes, Square. I'll have to unlock it, and then let's pull it down here. I'm going to have to adjust this because I can't see really what it looks like, but it's about the size I want it. So I'm going to move it backwards. If I said send to back, it would go all the way behind this rectangle and I wouldn't be able to see it. So I'm just going to say move backwards. Okay, it's a little bigger than I wanted, so let me make some adjustments. Okay, that looks pretty good. Now I want my rectangle and my word Empower to be centered. So the rectangle's already selected. I'll hit the Command button and then I'll click right here on the word Empower. With them both selected, I'll go to Align and I'll say center them both vertically and horizontally. Okay, so for one last time, I'm going to hide that, select everything, say Align, and center horizontally. So the only other thing to look at is, do I need to move the word Empower with the rectangle up or down? Do I need to adjust the size of anything? And overall, I like the design. I don't think I'll change a thing. Now with vinyl, if I can have both the black HTV and the glitter HTV adhere to the shirt, I think that's the best option. So what I need to do now is slice the word Empower out of this rectangle. So I'll hide that, I'm going to select both Empower and the rectangle. Since I welded the letters together, it's one object, so I can slice. You can only slice when you have two things selected. So I'll click on Slice. Now it doesn't look like anything happened, but I'm going to take the word off, and then I want to get rid of the word Empower in here. So to remove the word Empower, so that I don't move anything around, if I try to move it, watch what happens. I actually move the rectangle. So let's move that back. So I want to go over here. I think this is it. Let's hide it. Yes, that's it. So I can click on this layer and delete. Then I'm ready to put the green right back on top. Now for purposes of cutting this, it really doesn't matter, but if I want to get them lined up exactly, then once again, I can center them both vertically and horizontally. Okay, so let me look at this. That's one, and this is one. I need to attach those together. Otherwise, when I cut them, they aren't going to have the space in the middle, and I'm going to have to line them up myself. So with Other Women selected, I'll hold the command down, click on Real Women, and click Attached. So here's my final shirt. I no longer need my square, so I'll get rid of that here in just a minute. Now sometimes, here's a trick that'll work to make your letters just a little bit more bulky. I don't think it's going to work in this case, which is one of the two reasons why I'm also going to do this design in Inkscape. But with them selected, I could go up to Offset, and notice this is huge right now. I just want a really small, let's go with 0.04. Okay, you can see the blue lines of it. We need to click Apply. Now here's what I was hoping would happen, is then, let's drag those off. I was hoping I could use this as my cut file, but sometimes when you have insides of letters, especially in script fonts, even when you do a really small offset, they fill in. So I'm going to go back, get rid of my offset, and then save my project. Okay, I'm just going to slide this over here out of the way, and I'm going to do this design in Inkscape. And there's two main reasons why I want to do it in Inkscape. And I'll tell you what those are as I go along. Okay, here's Inkscape. Now, I usually work in some panels over here. They don't show up when you open it, so all you need to do is just kind of nudge this. That's how I get mine to show up. If that doesn't work, then whatever function I'm doing here, you can typically go up here and find what you need to do as well. But if you have any questions, ask me. Hopefully I'll know the answer, but if I don't, I'll be honest about it. Okay, so the first thing I'll do is start with my rectangle to mimic my shirt. Okay, let's fill that in with a dark gray, just like I did on my other shirt. Now, to select this, I have to go up here to the Select tool, and then I can just kind of drag it more centrally. Now, I want to zoom in, so I'm going to hold the Shift key down and hit the plus sign. To add some text, I'll go right here on this A, click on it, and then click over here. Typically, I go ahead and type my words, and then I change my font later, and I change my color later. So I'm going to type Real Women. You can see what I'm typing here. It's really small. I can change the color. And then we're going to change the font to Gabriella. You can preview it here to make sure it looks like what you want. Then you click Apply. Now, just like with the rectangle, to do anything with this, I have to select it. So I'll click the Select tool. Notice the proportions are unlocked here. I want to go ahead and lock that. With it locked, I can drag the corner and the proportions stay the same. Now, even with the proportions locked, if you drag down or up, let me move that back, or side to side, the proportions change. So the only way you can drag it and keep those proportions when it's locked is with a corner. Okay, so right now I am at 6.7. I believe on my other shirt I did about 7.5, something like that. That's what I'm going to go with. Now I'm going to hit Command C for copy, Command V for paste. Then I'm going to click in here and just edit my words right here. Okay, so I have real women and other women. Let's select that so I can move it over. With it selected, I'm going to hold the Shift key down, click up here, and that'll add it to it. Now I want to center the top one over the bottom one. So with them both selected, I'm going to click Align and Distribute, and then right here, center on the vertical axis. Now to weld in Inkscape, which in Inkscape it's called Union, but it's the same as welding in Cricut Design Space, there's 3 steps. For now, I'm going to drag this out of the way. Ooh, then I can't see it. Okay, let me change my font colors to something I can actually see. Let's go with dark red. Then I'll move this rectangle out of the way. Okay, so back to welding. Then my 3 steps: path, object to path, object, ungroup. Then I could go back to path and union and they'd be welded. But this is my only opportunity to move these letters around individually before I weld them together. Notice each one has a dotted line around it. They're separate right now. So let me click on this R, just like I did before. I'm going to make it just a little bit larger. Then I'll move it over and attach it to the E. To move the W, select it, hit the right arrow. It moves in smaller increments than they do in Cricut Design Space, and I like that. Now that they're where I want them, I'll select all the letters, go back to Path and Union. So now these are welded together. Okay, so I said there were 2 main reasons why I was using Inkscape. One is because you can beef these letters up, make them thicker, so they'll stand out more on your shirt. Here's how you do it. Now they do have to be welded or unioned together for this to work. So Real Women is selected. There's 2 ways to do it. Go up to Path and come down to Outset. I'll do that 2 or 3 times and you can see those letters grow. Now the other way, notice there's a shortcut here. So I could hit the Command button and the right parentheses and do the same thing. So with them still selected, I'm going to do that. And you can see how they really thicken up. Now that might be a little too thick, but I like that. So compare this to this. This is what you can make it look like in Inkscape. This is what it looks like in Design Space. And really in Inkscape, you can go anywhere between here, here, or even larger. Okay, so I'm going to do the same thing here. Path, object to path, object, ungroup. Then I think all I want to do is move my W over. I'm happy with that. So I'll select everything and go to Path and Union. Then I can either hit Path and Outset, or I can use the shortcut on my keyboard. Okay, I think that looks good. Now one thing, they look a little too close together, so I'm going to select this with my down arrow. I'll just click down and it moves. Or I can drag it. I can grab it and drag it. But notice you're probably going to get it out of alignment if you do that. So let's add the word empower. So I click on my text tool, click over here in all caps. I'm going to type empower. And then I'm going to go to text and font, and I'm going to find impact. I can preview it here, so I'll click apply. So to change the size, I need to select it And the proportions are locked, so as long as I grab a corner arrow, I'm fine. Let's go just a little bit larger, and then I think I will actually make it taller. I'm going to unlock it, drag it taller, and just a tad bit wider. Now, because I didn't like the spacing, I'm going to go up here and do the first 2 steps of welding, or like I said in Inkscape, it's called union. I'm going to go to Path, Object to Path, Object, Ungroup. This allows me to change those letter spacings. So I'm going to click on the O using my right arrow. Because these move in smaller increments, I think this works better on Inkscape. I'm happy with how far these are apart. Now here's one thing in Inkscape, to drag around, you have to drag all the way around. Notice right now it's not all the way around the M, so it only selects the E. In Cricut Design Space, that would have selected both of them. But in Inkscape, you have to get all the way around them. Now I can shift both of those at one time. Now at this point, because later I'm going to want to slice, which has a different name in Inkscape, I do need to go ahead and weld those back together, or weld those together. So Path and Union. Okay, that's close enough to my glitter color. Now the last thing I need is the rectangle around Empower. So I'll click on the square tool and drag this to about the right size. It needs to be black, so I'll come down here and change the color. And then I need to move it back one. So I'll click Object and Lower. Okay, to change the size of the black rectangle, I go right here to the Select tool again. And let's make it a little shorter. Let me select the rectangle and the word. I'll go to Align and Distribute, and then I'm going to align them both vertically and horizontally. Now, before I told you there were 2 reasons I wanted to use Inkscape. One was to thicken these letters, and the other has to do with this rectangle. If I click on it twice real quick, I have this little circle that shows up. If I drag this, look at what happens to the corners. They get smoothed down. I could drag it, make them really smooth down. Oh, that's not bad, actually. But I think I like it about right there. Okay, so what I've learned in Inkscape, the way I like to do it is, I'm going to go ahead and copy and paste an extra word Empower and reserve that. To slice, I'm selecting around both items. I go up to Path and Difference. So when you use Difference, you have what's left. And that's the reason I needed to reserve the word Empower. All right, so let's bring the mimic of my shirt back up. Now what this is saying to me is my design got a little large, so I might need to do something here. First of all, I want to change my font colors back to the right color so I can check the design. Then I want to group together Real Women and Other Women. So with Other Women selected, I hold the Shift key down, click up here. Let's just make sure they're centered still. And they were. So I go up to Object and Group. Okay, so somehow the widest parts of my word are 8.25 inches wide. And that's much bigger than what I wanted. So I'm going to make this a little smaller. Let me lock it. Make it a little smaller by dragging it. And I'm back to about 7.5 inches. And then I think I need to make my Empower a little smaller too. I'll just drag it. Now I can select everything, center horizontally, and there's what my shirt would look like. Now I feel like the word Empower needs to move down, so I'm going to click on the word Empower, hold Shift, click on the black, move it down a little bit, and there's my final design. Now I don't need the gray rectangle. So I'll select it by just clicking right here. If I click in here, I'm going to get something else instead. So I'll click on the rectangle and delete it. Now my words are still there. You just can't see them. There they are. I'll just change them to a really light gray, knowing that when I cut it out, that's actually white. So I'm going to save this to my desktop. Now wait a minute, before I do, I want to write down the dimensions because sometimes when you bring things into Cricut Design Space, it changes the size. So I want to write down both the width and the height. Okay, so I made a note that my width is 7.537, the height is 5.776. So again, I'll save this on my desktop and I'll meet you back in Cricut Design Space. Now before I get out of this, I realized that my colors are a little off. This rectangle should actually be black, and now it's correct. So I clicked on upload. I'm going to upload my new design. I'll say upload image, browse. Now I'm not going to show you all my files because there's probably stuff on there I shouldn't be revealing to the public, but I'm going to bring in the design I just made in Inkscape. So I'll click on browse. There it is. So I'll just say open. Now it's already in SVG, so there's nothing I need to do here. I'll just click upload. Now that it's in my uploads, I'll click on it and I'll say add to canvas. Okay, so let's just move it down here. I kind of want to compare these two designs, so I don't want to get rid of this design up here. Now what I would like to do is copy and paste this, and then I can just put that behind my other design. So I'll say arrange and I'll send to back. I think I'll zoom out so we can see a little bit better. So my design came in all grouped together, so I'll click ungroup. And then I'll change real women and other women to white. That looks really large. I should have kept it grouped, but what I can do is select everything. It looks like everything's selected, but this down here is not. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to move that out of the way and then select my entire design. Then I can check the dimensions. Okay, so it did come in way too large. It came in at 9.088. My width was 7.537. And then once I hit enter, my height should be 5.776. Let's see if it is. Okay, it is. So now we can compare designs. Here's the one I made on Inkscape. The words are thicker and my corners are rounded. And here's the one I made in Cricut Design Space. They're both very nice, but I prefer this one. So for now, I'm just going to select everything up here and I'll go back and hide it all. So I'm ready to cut this out. I'll click Make It. Ooh, okay, let's go back. Okay, so I have real women and other women selected. I need to attach that for it to cut spaced out like this. So now let's see what happens when we click Make It. Awesome, but I do need to mirror that. Let's click on this one. That one I'll actually not even cut. So when it comes time to doing that one, I'll just skip it. Here's my word Empower. I need to mirror that. Actually, that was the outline for the word Empower. Here's the actual word Empower, so I'll mirror that. Okay, so I think I'll start with my white layer. I'm going to click Continue. I need to select my maker. Now for my white layer, I'm just going to use this Everyday Iron-On. For the outline of the black, I'll also use the Everyday Iron-On. And then for the word Empower, I'm actually going to cut that out of Glitter Iron-On. So I'll cut those out and then I'll meet you back at the table. Here's the 3 pieces of vinyl, and they've been cut. So it's time to weed them. Now the black layer, this is the one that's the rectangle that goes around my glitter. Now I like to turn things over so you see the way they should look. That looks good. Now ask me how I know that you have to be really careful. I've weeded the wrong thing before. So there's that outline. Now with this one, we're actually going to leave the word in. So again, I want to look at it, see if it looks the way it should. Then I can just kind of set that down on top of my black. I'm not going to worry about it being perfectly lined up. But that's what we'll see on the shirt. Now with this final layer, part of my words are up here, part of them are down here. That helps you lay it down on your shirt in the right place, but I don't want to waste all that vinyl. But I do want to leave them connected so that I make sure they're placed right. Now I know there's a lot of glare on that, but this is basically what our design will look like. Then one more thing I want to take into consideration. This shirt has a seam going down the back. So I'm going to stuff something up between the front and the back of this shirt. I don't really have a pressing pillow, but my heat press has 2 pads on it. So I think I'll put one of the pads between the 2 layers of the shirt, and that's going to make it adhere more smoothly and not have a crease or not have a press mark showing right here. Now with this shirt, the heathered pattern's kind of run downhill, so it may not look quite straight, but hopefully it will be. So what I need to do is sneak my glitter layer down to the bottom. Okay, y'all, I was supposed to pre-press this, but we're just going with it the way it is. So for the glitter layer, I'm going to press at 320 for 15 seconds. It says 15 to 20, but this is going to get 2 more presses. Now this is just an inexpensive heat press that I got off of Amazon. It is a 15 by 15. It's a swing away. It was inexpensive, but it works for my purposes. It doesn't have all the bells and whistles of the more expensive ones, but again, it works for me. Now it's a hot pill, so I can go ahead and take the cover sheet off. That is so pretty. Now the Caesar Easy Weed Stretch, which is what the black vinyl is, you're supposed to press it at 305 for 10 to 15 seconds, and then it's a hot or a cold peel. So I need to turn my temperature down, then I'll let my heat press cool down just a little bit, and then we'll keep working. Now here's something I want to show you. The plastic carrier sheet is down on top of the black. That's going to leave a mark. So I think I'm going to trim that back so that there's no carrier sheet that'll be on top of the black. Right over here, it's still on top of my black. So without lifting the whole design, this is stuck down to the shirt. Now I'm going to go ahead and remove that little leg there. Now this time I do have to cover it up. Otherwise, this right here would probably melt. So this time we're going 300 degrees for 10 seconds. With this being a cold peel, I'm going to let that sit for about 5 minutes. Okay, that feels cool enough, so let's go ahead and see if that stays down. I found out the hard way, I don't know, a year and a half ago, when it says cold peel, it means cold peel. Otherwise, when you try to pull that carrier sheet off, it's stretching the vinyl, it gets little puckers in it. It just doesn't look nearly as good. So for my final press, I'm just going to press this down for about 5 seconds. Now you see the collar up here. There's not a lot of pressure on that, and I'll show you why there's not. If you put a lot of pressure on that, you can have, oh, I don't know, it kind of changes the sheen of the fabric, especially if there's polyester in it. And this does have, I think it's 40% polyester. So the way I kept that from happening is I had my bottom pad pulled down so that when the platen went down, there wasn't a lot of pressure up here. So what do you think? I really like this kind of black on black look here. I like how it helps this pop, and I really love the message. Again, this is not an anti-man statement at all. It's just a message to women to support other women. And for all you women and men out there that support me through views, through likes, through subscriptions, thank you so much. I'll see you on the next video. Until then, bye-bye.